Tuesday, the 3rd of November. Happy Election Day and happy USMNT Roster Release Day. That's right, guys. The roster is out for the Wales-Panama friendlies. It's an exciting roster. It's mostly European, a lot of young guys, a few surprises, and we are breaking it down right here on 11 Yanks. Okay, so the roster is out. We have a friendly against Wales on the 12th and Panama on the 16th of November in Austria. Let's start by going through the roster and then we'll go position by position and break it down. Goalkeepers, you have Zach Steffen and Ethan Horvath, the only two guys really getting any kind of minutes in Europe, and Chituru Odunze from Leicester City. Fullbacks, we have Anthony Robinson, Sergino Dest, and Reggie Cannon. Center backs, John Brooks, Tim Ream, Matt Miazga, and debutant Chris Richards. Midfielders, you have Tyler Adams, Johnny Cardoso from Brazil, Owen Otasowie, Weston McKennie, Yunus Musah, a very big and welcome surprise, and Richie Ledesma gets his first call-up. Go Richie. Up top, you got Christian Pulisic, Uli Yanez, Josh Sargent, Gio Reyna, Tim Weah, Nicholas Giacchini, and Conrad De La Fuente. All right, so this is an exciting roster, one of the best I've seen from Gregg Berhalter ever. I'm gonna break it down position by position, but before we do, don't forget to subscribe, smash that like button, it helps other people find us. Here we go. Okay, so goalkeepers, you've got Zach Steffen and Ethan Horvath. Not really a whole lot to talk about here. Chituru Odunze is probably the best of a couple young goalkeepers that could have been called up as the number 3. There's Damian Lass at Fulham, CJ Dos Santos, who's over in Benfica. But Odunze has been getting the most playing time for Leicester's under 18s and under 23s. So I think it's a good shout. I think he deserves this call-up. I'm happy for him. But other than that, there's really not much to say about this goalkeeping situation. Fullbacks. Okay, so Anthony Robinson, Sergino Dest, and Reggie Cannon. Both Tim Ream and Sergino Dest can also play left back, so that feels like good backup for Anthony Robinson. The big surprise, obviously, is no DeAndre Yedlin. He's not been playing for Newcastle. I think he's got technical limitations, like I've said before. He's very quick, but technically he's still not that great. And guess what? If you're in your mid-20s and you're not playing, you're unlikely to get much playing time for the USMNT. The bar is being raised with the USMNT. Being on a Premier League roster is not good enough anymore. I'm not saying he's done forever with the US men's national team, but we have other right backs coming through like Shaquille Moore in Spain or Julian Araujo for the LA Galaxy. Center backs is very interesting. You've got two left-footed center backs, so John Brooks and Tim Ream, both of whom are very good passing center backs. Matt Miazga and Chris Richards the same. I'm very excited for Chris Richards to get his first cap. I hope he starts in one of these games. He is our partner of the future for John Brooks. I really believe that. I would have liked to see Eric Palmer-Brown get called in. I think he's the kind of center back that Berhalter likes. Athletic, strong, but also very good with his feet. His passing stats in the Austrian Bundesliga this year have been one of the best in the league for center backs. I would have liked to see him called in, not instead of anybody, but in addition to. Some people were interested in seeing Cameron Carter-Vickers. I don't really rate Cameron Carter-Vickers in a Berhalter system. He's one of those big, towering defenders who's not very fast and also can't play with his feet, so I just don't think he fits into this system going forward. Other than that, great to see these center backs come in. There's lots of good potential pairings here. These center backs allow us to play with a back 4 with two fullbacks bombing up the field, or as a back 3 because both Reggie Cannon and Tim Ream can play as sort of a third center back. It'll be interesting to see what Berhalter does in these next 2 games. Into midfield, and this is where things get very interesting because Owen Otasowie is listed as a midfielder. Owen Otasowie did play as a 6 in some of his youth teams with Wolverhampton Wanderers, but I think he projects as a center back long term. It'll be interesting to see where he plays and how Berhalter uses him. What I don't love about this is that Johnny Cardoso is another defensive midfielder. So if you've got Owen Otasowie and Johnny Cardoso as defensive midfielders, that could mean that Berhalter plans to use Tyler Adams as a more attacking midfielder. I'm not sure I love that. I don't think Tyler Adams projects as a creative midfielder unless you're planning to do a high pressing system where the creativity comes from your high press and then you want Tyler Adams a little further up the field. Even in a high pressing system, I'd still rather have Tyler Adams as a 6, so I'll be watching these games to see how Berhalter uses him. Yunus Musah is the highlight of this roster, a very pleasant surprise. 17-year-old quadruple national, could play for Italy, could play for Ghana, could play for England, and has played for England's youth teams in the past. but for some reason has chosen the United States for this roster. Now, this is not cap tying, and this does not mean that Yunus Musah has committed to the US, but it's exciting to see him get in there and get a shot and build some camaraderie and be a part of our program. Huge kudos to Berhalter and Ernie Stewart and Brian McBride and whoever else stayed in touch with this guy and convinced him to accept this call-up. As far as the kind of player he is, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I haven't seen him play, so it's very hard for me to say this is the kind of player he is. I did watch some highlights, and that is a very limited, poor way of evaluating a player. But from what I can see, and take this with a grain of salt, this is a very limited viewing, he plays a lot like Paul Pogba. He's played mostly as an 8 or a box-to-box midfielder for Valencia this season. He can also play as a 10, he can also play as a right wing. Not really sure how Berhalter plans to use him, but we're gonna get a pretty good look at him over the next few weeks. I'm very excited for Rich Ledesma. He's a true 10. I'm excited to see him in the pool. He's a dual national. He was being courted by Mexico. He's always said he wants to play for the US, and I'm excited for him to get his first cap after he made his debut for PSV last week and even got an assist. Congratulations, Richie. Into the forwards, and Christian Pulisic is on the roster, which is interesting. Frank Lampard came out and said this morning that he has a very, very, very minor injury in his hamstring. It's probably more of a tweak than anything else. He's already back in training. He's not going to play in the Champions League against Rennes. Will he play this weekend? I don't know. I don't know how much he's going to be used, but I'm glad he's in the roster because we need to build a team here. So just being around each other, training together, being part of the whole team. If he is fit, he could maybe get some minutes against Panama. It's hard to know exactly what the situation is with Pulisic, but I'm glad he's in the roster. Uli Yanez is back after getting his debut in the January camp against Costa Rica and scoring a penalty. Conrad de la Fuente, the Barcelona, Miami-born winger, gets his first call-up. Josh Sargent is there. Tim Weah is there. Gio Reyna listed as a forward in this particular roster drop. Again, I'm not really sure if they're planning to play him as a winger/forward. We could see two different tactical setups in these games. Maybe one time we see Gio Reyna as a 10, one time we see him more on the wing. It's up in the air right now. We don't know exactly what Berhalter's going to do, but it's exciting to see. Nicolas Giacchini is there for the first time, the French dual national. He plays for Cannes in the French second division. Now, I'm not as high on Giacchini as some people. I've only seen him play once. I was not impressed, but that's a very small data set, so I'm not going to draw any conclusions on him just yet. Why not? Bring him in, evaluate him, get him used to the style of play, see what he can do. Some people were excited to see Aron Johansson. I wouldn't have been mad if Johansson got a call-up, but I really don't think he has much of a future with the US men's national team. I know people got excited after he scored a few goals in the Swedish division. Guys, we're talking about a division that is below MLS in terms of quality. We're talking about a 30-year-old who's been injured for pretty much 5 years straight. I think we need to project into the future. Sebastian Soto gets his first call-up, which is really exciting. Chile has been pursuing him. He can also play for Mexico. From his Instagram, he is psyched to be playing for the US, and I'm excited. He is a goal poacher. He's different than Sargent. Sargent is a guy who can either stretch the back line, but his strength is his hold-up play. Sebastian Soto isn't as good with his hold-up play, but he's one of those guys who has a nose for goal. He gets in the right position, he finishes chances, a real poacher in the mold of Robert Lewandowski. He has a very high ceiling. I'm excited to see him here. Tyler Boyd is also missing from this roster. Some people like Tyler Boyd. I don't rate him. I just think he's a very one-dimensional player, very much plays in straight lines, wasn't that good in the Gold Cup, has been okay in Turkey, but wasn't even included on their roster because of a ridiculous foreigner rule. So he's kind of in limbo until January. Again, he's in his mid-20s. He's not a guy that's going to improve a lot more. I just don't think, with the winger depth that we have coming up, I don't think Tyler Boyd really has much of a future with the U.S. men's national team. So that's my breakdown of this roster, guys. Next week, I'm going to do a more specific preview of the Wales game. We're going to talk about a potential starting lineup, a tactical style. Right after the Wales game, we're going to have a video out. We're going to have a preview of Panama. We're going to cover both of these games in great detail. This is the future of the U.S. men's national team. I'm excited. You should be too. Let me know what you think in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts on this roster. Put them down there, and I'll see you guys next Tuesday.